Hello, good evening, as they say. How is everyone doing this evening? I hope we are all enjoying this cool weather, at least in New Jersey, because it will be gone pretty soon. How are we doing? Good to see everyone. I'm using my darkened room atmosphere today at the request of many. So in a moment, I'll light my candle. But let me first say hello to all my guests. Mike F., good to see you. Emmanuel Spatato. Fancy Nancy, good to see you. Paul C. Carmela. Gina. Cotrain, good to see you, buddy. I watch Baywatch in the house. Paul C. in the house. I think I said hello to him already. Wise Up is here and listening. Todd Father is on his way to work if he's not there already. Bambi was here before. I don't know. Maybe she's still here. Who knows? She said, had a good show. Thank you. So it's great to see everybody on this Friday night. In this pre-fall weather, I'm going to light my candle, which that means it's story time. That'll give me a little bit more light. There you go. Carmel, I think I said hello to TT. How are you? I also have my little beverage with me. My old fashioned. I'm happy to have 12 people watching me. So tonight's story, I think you're going to like. I really like word of mouth ghost stories. And this is definitely one of them. Because I tried to do some research on it. And there's very little online that I could find. Cotrain, what hair am I going to burn? Now, there's no hair to burn there. Arm distance. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Tommy Stiggs checking in for a bit. Nice to see you. So as I was saying, word of mouth ghost story. I haven't found a lot about it. And I first heard this ghost story when I was a kid. My parents had a vacation house, I guess, so to speak, in the Poconos. And this was one of the tales that they would tell up there. We'd go up there during the summer. We go up there all year, but we were there a lot more in the summer, and they'd have campfires and such. It was nice. And this was one of the local stories or legends that they tell. And I've looked for it online. I saw it here and there, but nothing really in depth. So I'm going to tell you the basics of the story as I heard it. And then a little bit, as always, I try to change the story a little bit to make it a little bit more entertaining. So, but anyway, let's begin, shall we? 12 people is good enough for me to begin with. So our story takes place in the 1850s. Now, think about that time. In the 1850s, pre-Civil War, a lot of immigration of the Irish coming in to the East Coast based on the the potato famine in Ireland. So you have a lot of Irish immigrants. And they didn't always stay in New York City. We hear tales about New York City and Boston. They also migrated to other burgeoning industrial sites. And one of those sites was Easton, Pennsylvania. Now, for those of you who don't know Easton is a small city, I guess, but it has its roots in industry. It's on the Delaware River, right across between New Jersey. On one side is Easton, the other side is Phillipsburg, I think, in New Jersey. But anyway, so this was trying to become an industrial site. But before, the 1850s, that's when things start to industrialize. So the river is important. A lot of trade going up and down the river. But it was predominantly a farming community like most things back then. Most of the area starts with agriculture and then it advances to industry, right? So Easton is one of these areas. So there's a lot of I'm sorry, not Italians. Too early for Italians. Italians eventually get there, but Irish mostly. And in addition to the Irish, you have some of the original settlers, English and German, such Scottish, etc. So they have hodgepodge there of nationalities too a bit. But the Catholic Church established a monastery outside the outskirts of Easton to basically tend to the needs of the Irish Catholic community that was settling there. And this monastery, it had a bunch of monks, obviously, that ran it. Hi, Gerard. Good to see you. As I see new people come in, I'm just going to stop and say hello, but I don't want to disrupt the story too much. But so the monastery is very popular. It actually gains a lot of popularity because of their generosity, helping the immigrants, as well as just providing a lot of spiritual guidance to the community in general. They're even open to non-Catholics coming and they help the non-Catholics as well. So they gain a lot of acceptance in the Easton community. Now, one of these monks was a monk by the name of Brother Philip. And Brother Philip, by far, was the most popular of the monks. Why? He would do everything that you would think a blessed monk would do. Charity, sacrifice, always looking to help someone, always looking to feed the poor, always looking to uh, assist anyone in any way, shape, or form. And as a result, a lot of the community went to him for confession. And even if they weren't Catholic, they would unload their sins on him, and ask for his spiritual guidance. So he became a very powerful leader in the community from that angle. He had access to the most influential people in the community, and he used to have a lot of influence over them. But as the years went by, a few years of him doing this, he began to get a little jealous and a little envious of the wealth he saw developing in the community that he could not take a part of because of his vows, his vow of poverty. He could not partake in these things. And he saw Easton becoming more powerful in the sense that the industry was bringing money in and such. So he kind of went bad. There's no other way to say this. He gave in to one of the deadly sins, meaning greed. He gave in to this jealousy and this greed, envy and greed. And what he used to do when people would unload their sins on him, instead of forgiving them, he would use those sins to blackmail these people and for money, for wealth, for jewels, for anything, under the threat that he would divulge their sins and ruin their reputation in the community. People paid him a lot of money, especially some of the richer people in town. And he began to accumulate his own amount of wealth. And he ultimately had a plan to take all of this money and move out west somewhere and start his own life, not as a monk, obviously, but as some type of out west, some type of new cattle baron, or he would read stories about these things and knew that it was happening out there in the west, but he wanted a part of it, and he was forbidden because of the vows he took. So now, this change in Brother Philip didn't go unnoticed amongst his fellow brothers. In fact, hi, Pat Daly. How are you? In fact, they became very suspicious on him, and for a very good reason, too. Some of the signs were there For example, Brother Philip would suddenly leave the monastery at night and not come back till very, very late. The crucifix that was above his bunk and above every bunk in the monks' sleeping areas was gone. It suddenly vanished, wasn't hanging there anymore. On one day, while everyone was in prayer, another monk, a junior monk, was set out to clean the various sleeping areas. And in the process of cleaning the various sleeping areas, he stumbled upon a chest that was Brother Philip's. And this chest was unlocked, and that junior monk gave in to his temptations and peeked inside of it and saw a wealth of jewels and money in there. So this is becoming pretty obvious that Philip has changed. He is not being true to his vows. He is not the pious man that he once was, or that the community sees him as. So one day, that junior monk who found this stuff goes to the head monk of the monastery and confides in him and says, I found this. So the leader of the monastery does, he follows Philip one night as Philip leaves the monastery. He goes out and he sees him and follows him to a local brothel and tavern. And he sees him drinking and carousing with prostitutes, doing everything that a monk should not do. So that next day, Philip is confronted by his fellow monks, and they tell him they have no choice but to go to the bishop about this behavior. Now, Philip denies everything and plays the straight face, which he's so good at, plays the good guy. But the bishop orders an inquest into Philip, which means that he would send someone there specifically to look and judge Philip as to whether he is living up to his vows or whether he should be defrocked and kicked out of the monastery. So Philip knows that the end is kind of getting near here, right? The end is getting near. The jig is up, so to speak. And he looks at the money he has, and he looks at the jewels and the wealth, and he figures now's the time I better go. Before the inquest happens, I better sneak out of here, make my escape, head west, start my new life. Well, unfortunately, greed once again comes into play, because as he's about to make his arrangements to leave, he gets a request that comes to the monastery that one of the wealthiest women in town needs to speak to him and wants to speak to him. Now, Philip could have easily turned this down. He had enough money to get where he was going. But again, greed drew him towards this. And he said, you know what? One more time can't hurt. So he meets with this woman in the confessional. And this woman unloads many of her sins. And Philip goes through his usual routine a little bit quicker this time, because usually it took a few sessions before he did this, but he knew he had to go. So he makes his threats as to all the information that she shared with him and how he would divulge it and ruin her, and that she must give him money in order to shut him up, and that he'll be gone the next day anyway, so it'll be the best thing that ever happened. If she gives him the money, it'll all be gone. Well, this woman wasn't falling for it, and this woman was stubborn. And being one of the richest women in town, she had connections. And in fact, she knew the bishop and threatens Philip to say, this is it, I'm going to the bishop and I will have you defrocked. Well, at this point, Philip went into a tremendous rage, leaped upon her, and proceeded to beat her to death right there in the monastery, in the confessionals. Well, all this commotion brought the monks from all about, come running. And they grab him and hold him down, and they call the local constable, who comes, and Philip is arrested. Now, he was quickly tried because the evidence was there. There's a dead woman there, a very successful and a rich woman that the community loved was now dead at the hands of this maniac. He was quickly tried and sentenced to death. So Philip was being brought to the gallows within a week's time. And while at the gallows, he is brought up and asked, which is traditionally what is done, do you have any final words? And the crowd had gathered to see this, hearing this horrible story and wanting revenge, wanting to taste the revenge of hanging this man, for they had killed such a beloved woman of the town. But so the crowd had gathered, and they're waiting, and they're expecting Philip to pour out his heart and say, Lord, forgive me for what I have done. Easton, forgive me for what I've done. I'm repentant. Well, Philip does the exact opposite. And at that point, he yells out, Dark Lord, please save me. Now, this set the crowd into a shock, because that was obvious evidence that he was not only an evil monk, he was a Satanist practicing demon worship or devil worship. So the crowd was aghast. And just as he did that, the hangman pulled the lever and instantly snapped his neck. Now, because Philip divulged himself to be a Satanist, he was not allowed to be buried in the local churchyard. He couldn't be buried at the monastery. That was hallowed ground. The local Protestants wouldn't take him for the same reason. So the local authorities simply dug a hole in the courtyard where he was hanged, dumped his body in it, covered it up, and then put a marker on it. Well, this whole incident didn't sit well with the local people of Easton. In fact, they were incensed. They were not happy. They were not satisfied with the mere death of Philip. They wanted revenge. So that very night, a group of men enter the courtyard and dig up Philip's body in the dark of night. Now, they say that these men were wearing masks, so no one could tell who they were. But they dug up Philip's body and quietly went off and took the body away. And what has said happened is they took this body took Philip's body onto the outskirts of Easton on a farm and propped it up like a scarecrow in a pumpkin field. It was actually a pumpkin field next to the cornfield. They propped him up on as a scarecrow, and to make sure people wouldn't find him, they took one of the pumpkins and carved it and put it over his head. So basically, there was dead Philip lying there as a scarecrow with a pumpkin on his head. So the next day, when the body turned up missing, the constable looked all about the town, and it was all sealed lips. No one was saying a word as to what happened. They looked around, they looked elsewhere, and they couldn't find him in any of the outskirts. All they saw was a scarecrow. No one except the men who put him there knew that that was actually Philip's body. So there he remained. He remained there, rotting for weeks, to the point where crows and worms and various bugs began to eat his body as he hung there as a scarecrow. And he hung there until one night he finally vanished. And the five men that actually did this deed would occasionally check to make sure he was still there. And that one night when he was gone, an alarm kind of set out amongst the five of them. Now, they couldn't say they did this, but they also were very concerned. What could have happened to the body? It's completely gone. It's not there anymore. Nor is the pumpkin that was over his head. The pumpkin isn't there. So if someone took the body, they took the pumpkin as well with them. It's all very strange and very creepy. Oh, hi, Paul C. and Nick M. Good to see you guys. So he remained missing for a full month. There was nothing, and everything kind of died down a bit until the next full moon. Now, at that next full moon, something very spine chilling happened. Now, we only have the accounts of the monks, the remaining monks in the monastery, who can say what happened. But it's said that that night, as the full moon rose, they heard the screams, this bone chilling scream of much like a banshee screaming from the outskirts of the monastery. And a few of the monks went to the edge to look out the windows and see. And what they saw was shocking. For what they saw, they described as a demon man, a man that is basically a demon that had the head of a pumpkin, but his eyes were glowing red. But it wasn't just a pumpkin itself. The pumpkin had mold. It was as if the pumpkin had molded into the skull of the man. So it would be so as he would scream, as this demon would scream, the mouth would move, and it was the pumpkin would move with him. So it was as if it had become one. That his clothes were tattered and ripped apart in the sense that there was bugs and beetles falling out of the clothes, and his hands were to had molded or warped into claws. So, well, the monks seeing this, said did the sign of the cross, did whatever they could, and ran inside the monastery, locking the doors, bolting the doors. Well, the demon, which was to soon become known as the Goblin Scarecrow, bashes the door down and begins a rampage in the monastery, and ends up killing three of the monks, basically murdering and slaughtering them. Now, the remaining monks escape and run for the town to run for help. And as they get to the town hears this, an alarm goes out that something has attacked the monastery and killed some of the monks. Well, the town pulls out gets together a posse, so to speak, with torches and shotguns, and they head out to the monastery. And they find the dead bodies of the three monks that were killed, but they don't see any demon anywhere to be found. And they set out farther into the woods looking. Now, while they're doing this, they hear in the distance that scream, that bone-chilling scream, much like a banshee. And they go into that direction, and they change, and they go into another direction, and they can't seem to find where it is. And in fact, some of them hear the sound back in the monastery. They hear the scream coming from the monastery. So they sound their alarm, and they go all to the monastery. And they begin to search the monastery, and they find nothing. So they decide the only way to deal with this is to burn the monastery to the ground. This unholy creature must be inside this monastery at this point. We'll purify it with fire. And they set fire to the monastery until its very foundation crumbles. So the remaining monks at this point have no choice and leave, obviously. Their home has been destroyed. Hopefully, the demon had been purified and sent back to hell where it belongs. But it seemed like that was what happened, because it all went quiet for a while until a few months later, people started to see things here and there in the local woods. Someone might see the image of a man running through the woods. Then another person claimed to have seen an ape-like creature attacking their cattle. All of these stories start to pop up. And in fact, some people actually tell the exact same description or present the exact same description of what they call the pumpkin goblin, the pumpkin head. I mean, the scarecrow goblin. The raggedy scarecrow-like clothes, the pumpkin head molded to the skull, and the screaming and the red eyes. And this goes on for years. And no one ever captures anything or gets any concrete evidence for this. This went on for about 30 years, I would say. And then it suddenly stopped out of nowhere. And it wasn't until the 1950s, believe it or not. So more than 60 years, 70 years later from when the sighting incident stopped, that the scarecrow goblin was once again spotted in the woods outside of Easton, Pennsylvania. And this time, the description was the same. It was a man with a pumpkin head, screaming at them from the distance, screaming at them and chasing some of them too, some of them chasing them. So the 1950s, out of nowhere, this appears. And it's that sightings in the 1950s that really pulled this story together. And since that time, there have been several people that have gone missing in the area, and some have attributed this to the Goblin Scarecrow, who is still out there looking for revenge on the monks that he missed. He only got 3 of them, so he's still looking for the remaining monks to avenge what they did to him. And also the town as a whole, for they hanged him. And these sightings have continued to go on from the 50s. In fact, one actually occurred 7 years ago, and it was a bunch of hunters that were out during deer season in October, on the October time period. And they've said to have seen a man-like creature with a pumpkin head screaming at them and charging them. And they claimed to have shot through him. And as they shot through him with their guns, that the bullets went through him, didn't stop him. And they saw bugs and beetles and creatures coming out of the holes as if they just, all the bullets did was just open up a way for these bugs to come out of the body of this creature. So they ran and told their story when they got back, but it's still alive today that the Goblin Scarecrow is said to haunt but in fact, it's actually the range of this goblin has been quite broad, and it's been seen up to Bucks County as well, which is farther up into the west. So the sightings of the goblin have really spread out well beyond Easton, to the point that he's become really a household legend, so to speak, in the woods of Pennsylvania. But interestingly enough, I could find nothing on the internet. No, just one. I just found one article on the internet. But this was the story as was told to me as a teenager in at a campfire in Pennsylvania back in the 80s. And I thought it's such a creepy story to think about the possibilities of this. And I don't know exactly how true it is, but or what part of it's true and what part of it's legend. But it sounds like a storybook horror story that will keep you up at night. Because God forbid you see this goblin creature out there in the woods at night. I don't know what you do. Hi, Tony. Good to see you. Yeah, Gina, you better watch out. You'll get a house in Easton. So that's my story. That's in essence is the story. The story of the Goblin Scarecrow. And like I said, it's an active legend that would make me think twice about going camping alone into the woods of Pennsylvania, at least eastern Pennsylvania. My parents, Gina, no, I don't. My parents didn't tell me any stories. No, I don't think that. I don't remember them telling me a lot of stories. When I was a little kid, my mom used to read to me. That's about it. But I want to make sure I said hello to everyone here. If I didn't, I apologize. I saw Just Chillin' was here for a bit. Good to see you, my friend. Mikey was here. Good to see you, Mikey. See if I missed anyone else. Maureen, nice to see you. I said hi to Nick M before. Great group of people tonight. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, Carmela. Yeah, I think it's a fun. I think it's a fun legend, and it's something that will make you think if you're out there alone in the night. Um, how this monk was, for being so evil, basically was turned into a demon or possessed by a demon and doomed to walk the earth of the woods to the woods for who knows how long. So it's kind of cool outside. I was going to do the story by the fire, but my Wi-Fi really crapped out, unfortunately. So I just didn't want to take a shot at it. I was testing it, and it was the picture was going in and out. It was circling. I reset it. It still wasn't working right. I said, "Nah, I'm going to do it indoors. I'm not going to play around." I had the fire going and everything. Oh, thank you, Co-Train. I appreciate that. No, I hope everyone enjoys it. I mean, that's why I do it. I do it so you guys can enjoy it, and I like doing it. I like telling the story. It's and you know when I'll tell you, I'll share with you when I really found out I liked doing this is when my daughter was in second grade, and they asked parents to come in and read. You used to sign up every week, every Friday. One parent would come in and read, and I went in and read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow to them, and I really enjoyed it watching them. And of course, I put a lot of effort into it because they were little. They were so little. I had to make sure I could keep their attention as well as I didn't want to scare them. So it was a lot of effort put into that, but I really liked the experience of reading to the kids and seeing their reaction as I told them that story. Yeah, I do, Gina. I do. I do put some time in to look for stories. Like even though this one I knew from word of mouth, I I had to do a lot of research too to make sure, to refresh my. I tried my best. I tried my best to refresh my memory and to see if there were actually any sources of documented stories of this out there. And there really wasn't much, unfortunately. But I did do the research. I did as much research as I could, and that's what I always say. Everyone relies on Google, the internet, Yahoo, whatever. Everything's not on there. Despite what you may think, it's not. When you really want to look for something, it's so hard to find anything. You get what they want you to see, which is usually things they want to sell you. So the internet is not the answer to everything. And some of the local legends that I know from for Long Valley where I live, I actually got them from going to the actually physical library. Go to the physical library and digging up old books there about the town's history because otherwise you find nothing. Excuse me, you find nothing online. So there's still a use for a library, believe me. It really is. So I'm not looking forward to this coming week, man. It's going to be 90 degrees. It's not fall like at all, but it is still summer. But I'm not really looking forward to that. I like it to like this weather out tonight. This morning it was 49 degrees here. It was perfect. I went outside, took a deep breath. It was refreshing. It was so nice. Uh, right now, tonight it's going to get into the lower 50s. It's good. I'm not looking forward to 90s. Believe me, not my cup of tea. I don't know how people live in Florida. Like I think Carmela lives in Florida. I don't know how you do it. I could never do it. I could never retire there. Yeah, TT, the library. Yep, believe it or not, the library. Yep. You'd be surprised what you could find there. You still find treasures there. I'll tell you. But yeah, so I'm gonna, I will try to to do these as I'm going to continue to try to do them on Friday. And if I can solve my Wi-Fi problem, I will go out and do them by the fire, which I think is a lot more cool, a lot more fun. The ambiance of it is a lot more fun, but and it's more comfortable too. It's nice and cool out there right now. Well, I don't know about this coming Friday, next Friday, but we'll see. Spend summers in PA like a lot of Florida. Yeah, yeah, Tony. Yep, yep. Yeah, Carl. I don't know how you do it. I don't know you do it, my friend. I don't know how you do it. I know. Listen, I know. I know that's ridiculously expensive here. I know. I know. But there's got to be other places to live, right? That aren't crazy like New Jersey. That aren't 1,000 degrees. I mean, I when I retire, I'm definitely not going to Florida. I'll tell you that much. Definitely. Well, thank you, Tony. So for Sunday, we have our next Godfather coming up. Next Godfather episode. That'll be fun. Talking about the assassination attempt on Vito. That'll be a good one. If you can't catch that one, you'll want to catch that on replay because that'll be. They're always good. They're doing very well in views. So that's they're always fun to do. Spend some time with the boys. Yeah, TT. I like Vermont a lot. It's another area that's kind of been ruined by Democrat politics in terms of it's totally you can't afford to live there. You can't afford to live there anymore. It's ridiculous, which I don't get, but it's the way it is. It's the reality of it. But it certainly is beautiful. I tell you, I like skiing. I like going there to ski in the winter too. Really nice. Yeah, Blue Ridge Mountains, Carmela. Yes. Yeah. Right. West Virginia, I was looking at. That's nice too. I mean, like it's very backwoods there, but still. But it has all three seasons, or all four. I'm sorry, all four seasons, and it's affordable. So I mean, like that might be something that I'd look at. Turned all the lights off. I only have a lamp on here. That's it. There, I'll turn it off. Is that better? Is that better? You tell me, Gerard. Better to do them like this? TT, yeah, no, it's not bad. I tell you, I looked at it. It's not bad. That might be one of the. I just need to convince my wife that when we retire, that's where we would go. Joey Zaza. I don't know that, Emmanuel. I really don't know that. That's a good question. That's Godfather 3. I don't know much about Godfather 3. I don't know if there's a book about it. I've never seen it. There might be. Might be a book. Maybe that's in the book if there is one. Oh, a B&B? Yeah, that would be nice, right, Gina? That would be really nice. Yeah, they're very popular in New Hampshire and yeah, no, definitely. Maine. That would be nice. You can still see me? Good. Okay. All right. That's good to know. Yeah, I love New Hampshire. I do. I love that state. Nor mine, Gerard. Nor mine. I don't know what direction they went with that. I don't know. It's not my favorite either. Tony. Yeah, it hasn't grown on me either. I we could, that's not the topic of, but why not? But I what I didn't like about that show or that movie, not show. What I didn't like about that movie was that I thought Al Pacino overacted in that movie. I don't. It's almost as if he forgot how to act or something. It's just I didn't like his acting in that. Um, but look, it's all about opinion, right? Some people liked it, some people didn't, I guess. Oh, Paul C, you have a good one. Thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I got a little bit more of my drink to go through here. Then I'll be calling it a night. Oh, you did antiquing in Vermont, TT? Nice. Yeah, it's really nice there. It is really nice in those areas, those New England areas. What I'd like to do is take a trip to Salem. I've never been there. I heard they have a lot of like cool Halloween things in Salem, which I've never gone to Salem. I'd like to go there. Yeah, just chilling. I don't know. Todd Father's at work. I don't know. I think I don't know if he's in the chat, but he's definitely at work and he might be listening. Yeah, just chilling. I'm sure that dumb frog will be there tomorrow morning, and I'll have to save him again. I had to do it 3 times already. I don't know what his problem is. Oh, TT, no thanks is necessary. I'm just happy you guys are enjoying it. That's why you do it. That's really the reward to see you guys enjoying it. That's that you like it. That's why you do it. If people didn't like it, I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't do it. That's that's the whole part of it. The reward of seeing other people enjoy it. Much like the reward I felt when I was kids, those little kids, had such a good time listening to the story. And they always say that good, if you're a good storyteller, you can really translate that into just about anything in your life. So it's always good practice. It's a good practice from that angle too, right? Tell a story, get better at it. The frog, his name is Pumpkin. I called him Ernie. I called that frog Ernie. TT. I dubbed him Ernie. I don't know why. It just struck me. He struck me as an Ernie. He's got like these big black eyes. The pumpkin head frog. Yeah. Well, I'll be closing the pool soon anyway. Maybe, I'm glad I didn't close it at Labor Day because next week it's going to be so hot. I'll probably be in it. But a lot of people start closing their pools early. I know that Tommy always closed his early when when he had his own pool, he used to close it early. Now it's when his girl wants it closed, um but he's right that the use goes down tremendously. Like I don't know what, maybe this week the kids will go in it, but my daughter is at college. She's home now. Went and got her today. She's home for the weekend. But during the week she won't be here, and the boys are too busy, I guess, to go in the pool. They never go in anymore unless they're having a party and they're having friends over. I'm the only one in the pool. Yeah, just chilling. He likes the channel. Well, good for him. He's a smart frog then, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't have called him a dummy. I just pay a home office, a home owners association. Yeah. Well, thankfully I don't have one of those. These are just independent houses around here. You just own your own property, and there's no association. We had those in Pennsylvania. They're very annoying. I'm not a fan of them. They tell you what you can and cannot do. It's not my ideal place to live. Homeowners associations. So, but I guess they have their value. But then that's not me. Like, for example, you couldn't have a fire. You couldn't have a fire in your backyard at my parents' house in Pennsylvania in the 80s unless you went and got a permit from the guardhouse, from whatever. You had to go get the permit to have a fire in your fire pit. It was just so stupid. And that's what happens with homeowners associations. They get power hungry. Make it steaks, Jill? Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, it's good. Good. Some nice, big, juicy steaks. Yeah, I don't get to eat meat too often anymore, just from a physical standpoint because of my fear of the gout and such. But I do eat it from time to time. And a nice steak. I mean, I had a great steak. I went to this place about a month ago. It was called the Red Wolf Inn. It's in Warren County, New Jersey. It's a small little dive of a place, but they make great steak there. It's great. Wait, what am I missing here, Tony? You're talking about the Franciscan nuns? I missed something here. A bevy of nuns lived there. Oh, okay, got you. I see what you're. I see what's going on here. Yeah, I'm almost done with my drink here, and I'm gonna go outside and see if the fire's still going. It'd be nice. Yeah, Red Wolf Inn. Yes. Yeah. No, it's not. It's a good place. It's a good place. It's like I said. It's a dive. It's really small and old looking, and you definitely need reservations, or you'll never get in there because everybody's packed in there. But it's worth it. Call ahead, get your reservations, and if you're into the steak, they make a hell of a steak. I'll tell you, hell of a steak. Oh, Gina, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. It was, I would say medium, TT. I don't think it was that expensive. No, it's not. It's not like a Ruth Chris expensive. It's not like that, but it's not cheap either. So it's kind of like in the middle, I would say, depending on what you get. It could be like they have a wide range of steaks, so you can get a very expensive steak, or I got a reasonable one. And I tell you, the steaks were so thick that you don't need a big steak, and you can get like the smaller versions of it by the ounces, and it's satisfying. So you don't have to spend the $60 or whatever on a steak. They have that range. You have from like $29, $28, which is what I went with, up to like $60 steaks. So you could, if you want to spend a lot of money and do that, you can, but you don't have to, and you'll still get a good steak. The Clinton house. No, I have not. That's not. I guess it's not that far if it's in Clinton. I have not, but I'll have to look into that. I'll look into that. See if I can check it out. I watch. What are you talking about here? No, I'm not even going to expend. I'm not even going to repeat that. Yeah, I mean, Tony, these days you're going to spend that for your own steak. I mean, if you go to the store and buy it, it's so ridiculously priced. So if I pay $29 for a steak or $30 for a steak that's well made and I don't have to cook it and in a minute sitting down in a restaurant, I'm not that concerned because it's cost reasonable amounts of money in the supermarket these days. Hey, William, thank you for checking in. I appreciate it. Oh, don't worry about it. I watch. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You don't have to unsend anything. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I know. Who doesn't love food? Just chilling. Everybody loves food, man. I think. I think everybody does. I do. Yeah, I'm just trying to catch up on the chat here and see what you guys are talking about. Oh, Todd Father, the school supplies. Oh boy. Well, wait till college comes. You're gonna really enjoy that. Wait till you see that. Oh boy. And my daughter won't eat anything there because and I don't blame her. The food is awful, but we pay for a meal plan and the food is so bad that she won't eat it. It's just awful. It's ridiculous. Well, guys, I want to thank you all for stopping by. I think I'm gonna wrap this up on this Saturday, this cool Saturday pre-fall type of weather situation. I'm gonna go out and try to enjoy a little bit before it gets too late. But please click the like button. Hey, like my banner. Please hit the like button. I want to remind you to hit the like button. The like button seems to help. I've been watching the more likes I get on a video, the more the YouTube pushes it out. So I guess it does help. Who knows? But I want to just say thank you to each and every one of you for spending the time with me, listening to my tale, my word of mouth ghost story that I hope you enjoyed. You know, I do appreciate all of you. And I want to say God bless and have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. And don't forget, tune in Sunday, 2 p.m. We're still doing it. Godfather, assassination of Vito Corleone. See you then. Build the guild. Thanks so much. Remember, stay scared. I'm going to blow out the candle as always. Boo.